What is up, YouTube? Herozin here, and in this video we're going to be talking about a upcoming change on November 6th 2016, and that patch is estimated to come out then, and there is going to be a major change that kind of retroactively involves my base, or more specifically how my base was made. Now this is going to be a how I get my metal video, and pretty much an update to my other videos. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump on my quets with my two beautiful Ankula. We're gonna fly up a little bit here, and we're just gonna take a look at them. So this is my second Ankylo. They both have the same stats, but this one is the second one because this isn't the one I chose to level. I chose to level up the female. And wait, the female, right? Nope, I chose to level up the male. Okay, I was wrong about that. Anyway, so I leveled this one to 813%. Did have 100% imprinting, but I don't have the writing bonus anymore, and that's a whole different story that I've pretty much covered in other videos. But the change on November 6th, this is when they have said they're going to release this patch. I don't know if it's going to be delayed or not, but you are no longer going to have the benefit of getting 0 weight from whatever is riding on the platform transferred to the dyno with the platform. So now when the update hits, it's going to transfer 20% of the weight of whatever is in the dyno to the dyno that has the platform. Now please excuse the design of my platform. It had to have a few modifications because they did another fix that was trying to fix an exploit where people were surrounding their quets with spec walls and platforms and other nefarious stuff, where they were definitely bypassing game mechanics and pretty much have an invincible dyno. And I technically wasn't doing that, but I kind of was. As you can see right here, did I fall? Okay, I guess I fall. No, I did not fall. Okay, so there's that. Anyway, as you can see right here, I have a ramp leading down for my dynos to get on and off the platform, and I did lower the platform foundations in order to have a more flush look with the saddle. Now, as you can kind of see, I am missing 2 foundations here, and there would have been 4 ramps blocking the head, but when they did the fix, anything in front of the head of your platform dyno would stop it from moving forward, or have a very annoying glitch where you constantly move forward and then get rubber banded back to the same position, and you sometimes move, or other times you're just stuck in a constant loop of going forward. And so when I broke these 2 foundations, it kind of broke the windows that I had in front here, kind of stopping me from falling off and yada yada. And it also broke 2 ceilings I had extending forward even further. So we're gonna have to go with this. And so you're now gonna have 20% of the weight from the dyno on the platform transferred to the dyno with the platform. So this is gonna drastically change farming in general. Ever since I found out about this method of farming, this is what I've been using to farm all my materials. So I would say my base was 60% completed from the farm, just from using this exploit, which 20% is incredibly generous from Wildcard. They could have done it where 100% of the weight from the riding or the dyno on the platform is transferred to the quets. So I think because it's only 20%, they realize that whether they intended it or not, this has become a mechanic of the game that virtually everyone has been either using, or if you prefer, exploiting. So I believe they now understand that this is a mechanic that has, I wouldn't say this has hurt the game. This has actually helped smaller tribes and solo players such as myself, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But the 20% is incredibly generous if it stays at that level. I don't know if they plan to change it after it's released, then they get a little bit more feedback, but as it stands right now, only 20% is incredibly generous. And while I'm not necessarily happy about the change, it isn't gonna hurt as bad as 100% of the weight being transferred from the dyno on the platform to the platform dyno. So let's get on to how I feel about this change. And I'm just gonna farm while I get into that. Just kind of mindlessly farm to kind of show you the type of metal you can get, because this is before the patch. So my Quetz has 1700 weight, but it does have melee, or not melee, movement speed. So as you can see, I kind of put a little bit into melee. Oh my gosh. Alright, so I put a little bit into weight, I put some into HP, and I put most into movement speed, because I wanted to get from mountain to mountain as quick as possible, and then back to my base as quick as possible, just to reduce the amount of time farming as needed. So I wanted to try to speed up the process of getting metal back to the base as fast as possible, because I do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 industrial forges around my base that I can fill up all of them completely and then just have mass amounts of metal. Now, some people might say, well, that seems a bit excessive. Yes and no. This doesn't happen quickly. It takes me around 12 hours by myself to fill up all of my industrial forges, and that's all 60 slots, including a overflow slot that I usually try to make happen by sitting and waiting for metal to cook and then overflowing. That way I know I have around 12,000 metal in each forge, because you have to account for the slot that's going to be used by your gas, or that's if you're only using a stack of 100 gas. If you're using more, you're going to have to do more overflow slots in order to get 12,000. Anyway, so you do, or at least for me, because I am doing it solo, I spend, as I said, 12 hours, which is not a small amount of time, especially if you're gathering one single resource. But gathering that much resources and filling up all 7 forges does I'd say I'd be set for probably 3 to 4 days with that amount of metal. And yeah, I know you're like, how do you go through that much metal in 3 to 4 days? Well, ARK knows I love to waste metal on silly stuff, especially replacing the same wall over and over because of a certain build mechanic. But anyway, oh, and the bone skin on my Quetz was graciously given to me by the Alpha tribe on the server, so thank you to them for this skin. I think it's going to grow on me. I wasn't really too excited for the new skins, except for the vampire eyes, which I got on Scorch Earth. I'm hoping to get another one. What is this? Okay. And the vampire eyes and the wyvern skin, which I haven't gotten yet. You know, the whole Scorched Earth things, there's going to be videos coming out about that. But I did get the vampire eyes, and I did record us taking down the Dodo wyvern on the Scorched Earth official server. But my main goal for that is a whole other thing, and yeah. So, pretty much, I'm just going to start farming, and I'm going to get into how I feel about this. So, oh, and there's also a double taming, XP, and harvesting going on right now. So these amounts that you're going to be seeing are in fact doubled. It is an evolution weekend on official servers right now, so everything is times 2. Well, not everything. Well, I guess everything. experience harvesting and taming. So if you see like 100 and something metal per node, that's not normal. Well, you're gonna see over, maybe, I don't know. We'll see what we see, but it is double. So yeah, pretty much how do I feel about the Nerf coming to platform saddles? Well, I did expect this in the long run. I did make another video that I did not release of me updating my farm video, which I've gone over, and I'm going to go over again in this video, that I was expecting them to fix it. I was expecting a 100% fix, and I pretty much was going to have to revert back to the old days when I first started on this server and tried to get to farming metal efficiently. I had like 12 RGs, and I was just going around to each mountain, piking all of the metal nodes, filling up each RG, and then going back to the base. That's how I originally got my metal. And then they introduced the Quetzal. And then what I did with the Quetzals is, because I didn't know about the platforms yet, and I didn't have a platform saddle, all I did was pretty much tame about 7 Quetzals, pump nothing but weight, and then just went around and did the same strat as the RGs. I went around, only this time I brought an Ankylo with me, as you saw in my original video of how I got my metal that I've posted on this channel, which is an old video, but that was what I was doing, where I was daisy chaining Quetzals, having them follow me up here, and then just farming non-stop with the Ankylo. Now that way kind of sucked, because my Ankylo had to be on the ground since I was solo, and I couldn't quickly move it around, and transferring metal from my Ankylo to the Quetzals added pretty much doubled the time that I was spending on a certain location. So with my discovery of the platform trick, I developed, as many others did, a way to do this solo and rather quickly, because now my Ankylo didn't have to move around. All I did was move the Quetzal around, and then was able to farm with the Ankylo on the Quetzal, as you see now, which drastically sped up my ability to farm. So this just a small mechanic right here of being able to jump off the Quetz onto my Anky and then back onto the Quetz, and vice versa, over and over again. Farming metal was a drastic increase to the amount of metal I was able to get, and a massive reduction to the time I was spending on each location. And so with that, with the change incoming, this doesn't change. So while the change is going to hurt small tribes and solo players, so this change is definitely going to hurt those groups. If you're an alpha tribe, this change isn't going to do much, because you're already going to have large amounts of Quetzals, and they're probably going to be bred because you have the people to breed them, and they're going to have really good stats. And so 20% reduction, or 20% addition to the platform saddles weight isn't really going to change much for them, other than the fact that they're going to have to return to base and drop off a load of metal earlier than they would have before. So instead of hitting each mountain and then going back to base with around 40 something K weight, or 20K weight, half of that, I usually, because let's see how much weight I have now on my Ankylo. So right now I have 14,000, no, that's food, okay. I have 4,200 weight out of the 456 weight. So you're going to have to go back to base sooner as an alpha tribe, because your Quetz is probably going to have, especially with the increase to 5.0 difficulty, 150 Quetzals, I would say a 4,000 to 6,000 weight Quetz is not out of the question, especially if you put breeding into the mix. So you're going to definitely be able to have a lot of metal on your Ankylo with only 20% transferring to your Quetzal or whatever platform saddle you have at the moment, if you're farming metal on Scorched Earth with Paracerathenium. And that is going to be a little bit different because they're going to have a very different weight than a Quetzal can have, but it's still going to hurt a little bit for the alpha tribes. Now it's going to hurt drastically for solo players that are just starting and smaller tribes, because you're not going to have the same resources and the same access to high level Quetzals as the alpha tribe on the server you're on already. So while this change I've seen coming for a while now, and I've been prepared for it because I do have several other Quetzals that are nothing but weight Quetzals. So I was expecting 100% transfer of weight, and was expecting to have to go back to the old daisy chaining Quetz and having them follow me around and then transferring the weight. Now, even if it did go to 100%, just the mere fact that you could jump off a Ankylo, or jump off a Quetzal and jump onto an Ankylo and then continue to farm, is still a massive increase over the picking up, dropping, jumping on, moving, hitting, picking up, dropping, and then just doing that whole other process. So the fact that they're not really changing this at all, other than transferring 20% of the weight to whatever platform dyno you're on, is really a good thing. And I'm kind of happy that it is going to be a small nerf to this, because as I said before, I believe they understand that this is fully a mechanic. Either they realize that they made this mechanic because they took so long to fix it, or that they've just realized that it is actually, I feel, beneficial to the game, because ARK already is very farm heavy, especially on official servers, but I'm really loving these ×2 events they're doing. It is a massive breath of fresh air. I mean, okay, so with my current super bred Ankylos with their high melee damage, and with the old riding bonus, I was getting 116 as highs. Without my riding bonus on this new character that I have that had to be made because of the loss I had, without the ×2, I get around 100 as high. So really, with the riding bonus, I lost about 16 metal ish per node, 16 to 20 metal per node, depending on what type of node it was and whether it was a rich node or just a regular node. And so I didn't really lose much from losing the riding bonus, other than my damage reduction. So that kind of sucks. Because the riding bonus gives you a 33% increase in melee damage and a 33% decrease or increase to damage reduction. So it kind of sucks I lost that with Weather. And since it is a 1.5, it is a 5.0 difficulty now on all official servers. These Ankylos are very outdated now, since they were 120 perfect tames and then bred. Well, these weren't 120 perfect tames. The parents of these were both 120 perfect tames. The father had amazing can't get straight. The father had amazing HP and the mother had amazing melee. So, and then these are the offspring, which I 100% imprinted for the stats you see now. And so yeah, the lows and highs weren't very different without the riding bonus. So as far as them fixing it, yeah, it's been a long time coming. They took so long that I believe this has turned into a valid mechanic, and they are attempting to make it more realistic, but from the understanding that they're only going to transfer 20% of the weight, they're not totally removing it from the game. So while this does make me happy, on the other hand, they're changing the mechanic now, or exploit if you still wish to call it that, really only hurts solo players and small tribes. So while I understand that it needed to happen about a year ago. So this is a little late, and while I can understand why they're doing it, it kind of still makes me a little bit, I want to say upset, but like I want to say question. Okay, yeah, we needed this a while ago. Doing it now kind of doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe just come out and say that they didn't intend it to be a mechanic, but it has now become a mechanic. But anyway, this is just a video I want to make on how I pretty much got 60% of the metal for my base once I discovered it. I went from daisy chaining Quetzals and carrying a single Ankylo up here to being able to make a platform, have 2 Ankylo for the mate boost to get that extra damage, and get vast amounts of metal rather quickly because of platforms. And I really do enjoy farming this way. It's kind of relaxing in a certain way. For me, at least, where I could just go around and gather metal kind of nonchalantly, and you still have to watch out for the occasional Giga depending on what mountain you're on. So it's not 100% safe. You still, I mean, other players, this is a PvP server, so if you piss somebody off or you get a unlucky spawn of a Giga on the mountain while you're kind of like farm metal, and then you turn around and there's a Giga right next to you, you're like, this may not be the best of luck right now. So yeah, I do enjoy this method of farming. I do believe it is now officially a mechanic, and Wildcard is accepting it as such with just the 20% transfer, so they understand that's part of the game. And they're going to keep it part of the game. They're just going to reduce the amount, which I'm okay with. It's not really too drastic. You're still going to be able to farm loads and loads and loads of metal. Right now I'm at 10,000 weight. So I am myself, I'm going to have to get new Quetzals. I'm going to have to do that anyway because these are all 4.0 tier dinos. I don't have any new 5.0 tier dinos because I've been on Scorched Earth recently, doing a whole other stuff there, making a base and all that goodness. So I do have room to improve when the update does hit and they do nerf platform farming a little bit. But all in all, thank you Wildcard for not going to the extreme and 100% transfer of weight. And yeah, I guess it's a good time as any to end it here, since it is raining and dark, and for some reason a lot of my videos end up at this point where I end it. But let's just fly up and take a look at each obelisk and just enjoy ARK as it is. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.